noticed that you don't actually have a start of your videos. They just begin.
They just begin.
You don't have like a build up or anything. You just like turn on the camera and they go.
No. The beginning is. I'm Larry Chen. This is John Chase. Welcome to my channel. We're gonna talk about your most famous car. This thing has become a Hot Wheels. Yes. This thing's been on the Hoonigan channels. I don't even know how many of the channels, but a lot of the channels.
A little bit, yeah.
This is like what you're known for. This is the car that when they think about John Chase, they think about the Tri-5 by Fire. So the first time I ever saw this was actually when you brought it to Power Tour.
Yep.
I think it was in 2015. You had this, Scotto had the Napalm Nova. Mm-hmm. Somebody brought like a...
I think it was Ratbird, had his Pontiac.
That's right, it was an old Pontiac, I think. I did a shoot for Hot Rod Magazine with these three. It was like the three Hoonigan cars, and they were kind of matching in that this was like primer looking. You had Scotto's car that was like flat black, and I think some of the other cars were primer also.
When you shot that, I remember you were on top of the gravel and you almost flipped backwards and like, yeah, you almost died. This was, back then was 14 different colors of primer. It was all junkyard parts, junkyard motor. It was a junkyard brake master cylinder. It was just whatever I cobbled together to get on the road.
For those of you guys who don't know, I've known John for a long time. I think we met in 2009. Like, this is before I feel like social media was a really big thing. I was going to the racetrack and I was selling photos on CDs.
So you would make CDs?
Yes, I would bring my laptop and I would burn the CDs there at the track. As soon as I took pictures of your car, I would burn them onto a CD and I would sell the CD. And I remember at the time you were working on your own brand, Destroyer, which you've brought back now.
Yes, I've reignited it after a hiatus of almost 8 years.
I have to say, I go through t-shirts like crazy, you know, like all of my t-shirts, especially the Hoonigan t-shirts, all have holes in them because I wear them and I'm just really rough on them, you know, rough on equipment, working on cars, taking pictures, laying down on the ground, climbing through fences, all of that. Luckily for me, I still have some Destroyer t-shirts in good condition. I still wear them to this day after all these years.
I'm stoked by that because I've actually been kind of surprised that when I made the announcement, people started like posting photos, then pulling their entire closet out. It's amazing how people held on to that long.
And Destroyer as a brand was a lifestyle brand, is a lifestyle brand surrounding cars and car culture. And I think it really got popular in Southeast Asia too, right?
Yeah, so by 2012, 2013, it started getting really popular in Malaysia, and it was very different than here.
And you had a really, really good spokesperson. You had the Prince of Malaysia, right? Or one of the princes, our good friend Tengku Jan, which I am so honored that I've had a chance to get all these photos of him drifting and competing in Malaysia. And I've met him many times, and he was a good ambassador for your brand, I think.
It's so interesting because Destroyer is like hot rods and muscle cars and like, you know, traditional stuff almost, but then mixed with video games and RC and anime and just music, anything I'm into. So it's interesting that I remember going to like American car shows and like American events, and they go, "Where you been hanging out this whole time?" And I'm like, "Hey, I'm a drift kids in the parking lot in Vegas." Their head had exploded because for whatever reason, it was embraced by grassroots drifting that went on to be Formula Drift. Like I did a couple collabs with them. So it was just crazy. I don't know. It's just, we've known each other a long time. I remember you used to hook me up with photos, and I appreciate that so much to this day.
Yeah, because, you know, a lot of the people that we hung out with at the time, they would wear Destroyer things. And it's like we would have a bunch of like male models, I guess, around the track, drift nerds. And I would just take pictures of them. And that way you can kind of show off a little bit of the stuff that you do. I actually really want to talk about this car. So a lot of times people ask me, why is it that you're not featuring that many American cars? It's honestly not by choice. I love American cars. And for those of you guys who followed me for a long time, you guys know that I've shot for Hot Rod Magazine a lot. And actually, my first ever magazine cover was for the 65th anniversary cover of the Vic Edelbrock 32 Ford on El Mirage Dry Lake Bed, Hot Rod Magazine. That was a very historic cover, and honestly, it was a really big changing point in my career, I guess, that showed that I'm able to shoot other things besides drifting. With that said, I've had 10 covers over the years.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I've had 10 covers, and I think one of the covers was the 2015 Hot Rod Power Tour. That, I think. But anyways, with that said, I've learned as much as I can about American cars and car culture and drag racing while doing stuff for Hot Rod Magazine. But my audience, they may not know so much. Like, I know what Tri-5 is, but maybe if you can explain what that is to the audience.
So Tri-5 is the 55, 56, 57 Chevrolet Bel Airs, 210s, 150s. So that's just the name they give them. It's just Tri-5, so it's the 5, 6, 7. I think I actually have a piece up here that Chris Reese from the Pike gave me, and there you go. Just shows right there.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's a Robert Williams like painting, and talks about those 3 years. And then Chris had that up, I think it might have been at the Pike or in his house, but he gave it to me. That's what Tri-5s is, or Tri-5s are. And Tri-5 by Fire is the whole idea is like, it's trial by fire. Because like the car, when I got this car, had been sitting for 17 years underneath the freeway in Riverside at a tow yard. I told the woman I was buying it from, like, hey, I promise you I'll get this car running, I'll drive it. So the story with the car is that her and her husband had matching 55s. And then in the mid-90s, she took it off the road because she wanted to like lower it and put a 700R transmission in it and put a Nomad bumper, which is like a cool like mod. And then her husband came sick, ill, passed away. They left the car exactly how it was when he was working on it. And along the way, I think people started pulling parts off of it. So by the time I got it, it was missing a quarter panel. There's no driveline in it. They put the wheels next to it and put the A-arms on it that looked like it was a car, but it was just basket case. So for me, the reason why I wanted a 55 so much is because my dad and I were, when I was like 6 years old, we were watching Channel 5 or 13. We're watching like a Sunday. He's like, oh, you're going to love American Graffiti. I'm like, okay. He's like, you're going to love Milner's car. I'm like, oh, all right. And in Milner's car, like, that's cool. But then we're at the light, and then Bob Falfa rolls up in his black 55, and who's driving the 55 is Han Solo. That's who it is. And it's Han Solo. So I want Han Solo's car. So he takes off. I'm like, that was it. And then obviously I discovered two-lane blacktop later on, my buddy Mike Bourne, actually not too far from here at Norco Hot Rods. So Vaughn Hot Rod had a shop over here, and who's who of custom cars, hot rodding, and just like cool car in general. Can we cuss on your channel? That's fine. But yeah, so everyone who's who would be there. Ed Roth would come by. It was so cool, and we bought a bootleg tape because they weren't in print then, and that's when I started to morph a little bit with the gray paint.
So this was pretty much destined for the junkyard.
Yeah, I mean, by today's standards, you would think it's a gold mine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But back then, you're like, ooh, this could just be put away.
And it wasn't worth that much back then. Now,
No.
because of the popularity, especially this one is turned into a lifer car for you, I'm sure. This is...
I've done a lot with it. I've met a lot of great people because of it. I mean, like on that Power Tour 2015, highlight moment for me was at the gas station. The car broke down every day, but I fixed it and it kept running. I was at the gas station and Vic Edelrock Jr. was walking out of his car and he saw it and he's like, he gave me the thumbs up on it, and that made my whole day. That made my whole day. I mean, it was sweaty and hot and I kept just falling apart, but he approved. That was it. He approved. Like, you're driving an old jalopy and you're making it down the road, so it's great. But
that was probably one of the hottest Power Tours of all time, and I think we were in a bunch of like Chevy Suburbans like that were brand new and they had really cold AC, and we were just watching everyone else suffer. What did you do to it? You made this like the Gasser style, right?
Here's the thing, when this car, originally it was all me just working out in my barn at my parents' house in dirt. So I got it running, I put the 327 in it and a Muncie 4-speed in it, and it had the stock rear end, and I got to be driving, I wired it. It was just that.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Gasser style? And because this obviously is meant to go down the drag strip and you can also cruise with it. What's the point of making it a Gasser? Would it go faster if it was lower?
Yeah, it's not an aerodynamic car. So it's everything counterintuitive you do. But back in the day, it's how it was. So it was for weight transfers. They raised up the front ends for weight transfer. They didn't have to have a straight axle in them. The straight axle is one thing to do with it. I mean, there's other people like Hot Rod Ranch, they have one. It's super low, and it's on a straight axle, and it looks slammed. It's awesome looking. It's an aesthetic at this point. You took off modern suspension with A-arms, and you put parallel leaf springs like a buggy. So, I don't know. It drives so-so. It's not, in this car, with these skinny like tires on it and the spool in it, it doesn't like taking turns at all. So it's really meant for straight line.
So what is your best pass with this?
So 2019, September of 2019, I took it to Fontana and I ran a 10.6 at 129. And that was the best I ran at the time. And granted, COVID happened and there was no track days. And I blew my back out and I was down all of 21. So just now, recently, I'm feeling better. So I'm hoping to get back out there soon. And then I actually hooked up a nitrous. So I need to get dyno tuned with the nitrous on it, and then we can see what it
That
does.
wasn't with nitrous?
No.
Wow.
But the time before that, on that same track, with the old 327 in it, it ran 1480 at 79 miles an hour.
14.
Yeah, buddy.
Oh my God. And this is a stick shift car.
Yeah, so it's got an American powertrain, T56 Magnum, 6-speed in it. So it cruises really well. I mean, it has an LS, it's got a Maggie in it, so it's got a Magnuson supercharger on the top of the LS one. So,
Okay. That's how you're able to make a 10-second almost.
yeah, but I mean, like people were driving the gassers like that, and they could do it. But like this, you can drive to the track, and then go do that pass. You might pull that pass.
Yeah,
for me. There
sure.
You go. There you go.
Whoa. So what is this? This is fiberglass?
Fiberglass. Yeah, so it had a normal radiator support, core support on it, and then this was all kind of done on camera. There's a whole series about it. Some interesting engineering done on it, but it's basically how the cars were built, so you just kind of figure it out as you go. I mean, I don't know if everyone's familiar with this, but this car went through like 3 motors. It's kind of cursed, I think, sometimes. But it's fine right now.
Yeah, and you also blew a clutch, right? I think you were...
No, so that was all just...
Whoa,
Oh,
someone's going for a pass.
someone's getting saucy right here.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that. It was just all it really did. It wasn't the clutch. It ended up doing was the headers are right here. It cooked all the fluid for the clutch cylinder. I took off against Finnegan. His car stalled, and I was out in front of him. I couldn't get to second gear. I knew the car wasn't going to shift. As soon as I got in the car and they called us to go to the line, Mike got in his car and took off. And his car was overheating, so they were pushing his car the entire way up there.
You could have won then.
I could have won if I could have gotten to like a couple more gears, because that was the slowest this car ever ran, and that would have been the greatest event ever for me, but it wasn't meant to happen. So
It's okay.
yeah, I mean, Mike's super great, and like Newburn and like Mike, the other Mike, they helped out. They busted my balls about it, but it's still cool. I mean, I lost my beard. Goldberg held my arms. It's fine though. Like, it's a moment that I'll never forget, even though it didn't go the way I wanted it to. But hey, it's life.
So what are we looking at?
LS1,
Out of anything?
anything. It has some goodies in it from like comp and K1.
What did this dyno at?
600 at the wheel.
That's a lot.
Not for people being competitive. Like Finnegan's car has like 1100 or something like that. To the wheel, it's probably like 9 something, high 9s.
And then that drives on the street too?
I don't know if Mike's driving his cars on the street that much anymore.
But this is a street car. You could drive this on the street.
Yeah, I drive it. I mean, I would drive it to Compton, drive 100 miles in it. Before I did the swap on it, it was original, like first gen small block with a 4-speed and a gear vendor. I would drive 300 miles in it.
Can we take it out today?
There's only one seat.
Okay. I guess you're only taking it out today then. With nitrous, what do you think it'll make? Like 800?
I don't know. So the thing with nitrous is like, we can add it to it. All it's really going to do is cool down the charge. So we'll see. I don't know. It could be less. It could be like 700. I don't know. We'll see. Like, I don't know. I just got to get to the dyno. I'm just happy to be driving it. Because to be honest, I tried to take it to the track last Thursday. I have roof racks that my neighbor gave me for my slicks, put them on the top. I was all ready to go. Picked up my buddy Dane, and he was going to take his Malibu out, which he did take it. Fired the car up. We're getting ready to get on the freeway here at the 15, and then like out of nowhere, car starts jerking and bucking and acting weird. And I'm like, uh-oh. So I just come back home. It's like the return line for the remote oil filter blew off, and it's pumping all the oil out of the engine.
Oh, man.
So luckily, I had new hoses made, and everything seems to be fine. It holds pressure, it builds pressure, so I might have dodged a bullet. I thought for sure it was over. I was planning just going to the track and just having fun and just racing and not trying to set the world on fire and just go out and do that.
I think that's really what it is, you know. That's the thing is just doing it and just going through the paces and enjoying this project. I think that's what's important.
It's a forever project.
Takes some muscle. Dang. This is... It's cool is that you left the original dash.
Well, yeah, I kind of had to. I mean, these cool little detail like the bow ties are in here.
That's super cool.
Jose, he gave me this seat, which I'm stoked on. This is like, I swear it's like a sprint car seat because it goes all around your body, but the price was right and it fits me, so I'm stoked on it.
One of the things that a lot of people don't realize is maybe people that don't follow drag racing, it's actually so much slower to have a stick shift car, right?
Yeah.
If you put an automatic transmission in it, it would be so much faster.
Put a power glide in it, it'd probably be really fast, but I don't know if it's really necessary for me. Like, that sounds like something that you need more race car.
Once you put nitrous in, you can probably get into the 9s, huh?
I think so. I mean, here's the thing. I have a water box on here for the supercharger to help cool it off. I've never put ice in it. I think when I ran the 10.6, I put a handful of ice that I had in a cooler that wasn't melted and put it in there, and that's when I ran that number. So, I mean, pack it full of ice, put the nitrous on it. It could. I mean, can it pick up 6.5 tenths? Maybe?
Yeah. But plus having a good start, having good shifts, all of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about drag racing. And when you start doing the manual, it's really up to like, am I shifting? Am I getting it quick enough? Because with the late model transmission, you do have to pause a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get face plated. You can spend a lot of money on these transmissions and make them like where you're just beating on them really hard. But for the most part, it's still like a pretty streetable car.
What did you do to the rear end of this?
It's a crazy fabbed out Curry rear end. So it's got a spool in it, which means both wheels always spin.
Yeah, in drifting, it's called a welded diff.
Yeah, it's a welded diff. I have a welded diff in my car, but it's not welded. But Curry, yeah. And it's like I painted it. It's so funny. I candy painted it red, and I put like, if you read this, something went wrong underneath it, and then I had to have some more work done for the coilovers and more like reinforcements. So almost that stuff's all gone. And then like the cage. Art Morrison supplied the bars. Ed at Mobile Welding Specialties did the work to burn it in. Performance worked on the front end to help re-hang the springs. There's not really too much to these cars, really. I mean, I'm not period correct guy, so.
Yeah, you're build how you want it to be.
100%.
Guy. Yeah. So, and these are the slicks that you run.
Yeah, these are them right here. 29 10.5Ws.
So you actually drive on the street with those?
I do not.
Oh, you don't?
I
So
do.
you actually have to carry them because it's like too wobbly on the street?
If you get water and stuff on them or gravel, like it's just not a good idea.
Yeah.
So I know people who run slicks on the street and drive them on the freeway. I'm not up for that. I got kids and I want to come home and see them. You never know, dude. You never know what's going to happen. So I just run street tires on it. But I have these roof racks that my neighbor Carp gave me. So I just put the roof racks on there, the drip rail ones, and I just stack the tires on there and just
That's
ratchet
so cool.
strap them down.
What a cool build.
I like it. I mean, here's the thing about gassers, or just cars like this kind of in general. When you have them and you go to a show or you're out in the street driving them, people will stop to take pictures of it because like you don't see it every day. I remember when the dude from Forza, he came and shot the pictures of this to put it in the game. He's like, "Is it broken? Is there no engine in it?" Because it was so high up the front. Because that's when it was 12 inches high. It was like this. I think when people see these cars, they're just like excited just because they're different. And it is funny. I will share this story. I was just cruising on the fast track on the 91, which is the pay road. And there's this car was pacing next to me the entire time for like miles. I'm like, so I finally look over and not kidding you, Larry, it's two grandmas, like gray hair grandmas. And they like smile and they give me the thumbs up and they just smash the gas and go on in their Camry. So I could pull in some like Grammys right there.
That is amazing. I love that. I like this so much. I like the texture of it. I like the stories behind it. I just like that it's yours. This is not the first speller that I featured on this channel. I featured Joe Barry's.
Oh, Joe Barry's so awesome. Such a nice guy.
Let's just say it. That's the ultimate one of all time, I feel like.
Joe Barry is such a good dude. He's had that car. He got that car for $50. And like, look at it now. I mean, he still goes out and drives it.
That one is so cool and it's very inspiring and I loved riding in it. He gave me a ride in it. And
because he has seats.
yeah, it's super cool. But with that said, not every car needs to have 3,000 or whatever, 4,000 horsepower, whatever he has. I don't even know how much horsepower he has. This is just a different kind of build and you're enjoying it a different kind of way. And that's okay. You know, not everybody has whatever, hundreds of thousands of dollars to put in their car.
Yeah, my whole thing is like try to be is like you could do it yourself. Granted, I had a lot of help. The original idea was to run 990s anyways. So I feel like that's it. That's like pretty obtainable. I can still drive it. It doesn't cost you an arm and leg. So that's it. I just like those things.
I couldn't even imagine what that's like. I couldn't even imagine. Like I'm so disconnected from drag racing. I love it. I think it's awesome. I love photographing it. I just couldn't imagine being in a car going that fast. 9.9.
But it's relative. Like if you're
Yeah.
used like when I went from 1480s to 10.6s, it's like that's 4 seconds. That's huge. Now getting down from the 10s to the 9s is a little bit, and when you get to the 8s, that's a whole other ball game. And then when you go faster than that, that's like that's all
Yeah.
next level stuff. So
Thank you so much. Thanks for letting us check this thing out. This thing is so cool.
dude, Larry, anytime. Thanks for coming by.